hello, viewers, and welcome to another Say It Sis introduction. My name is Santana Nicole,
And I am Rebecca Faith.
and we are the founders of Say It Sis Incorporation. So first, we wanted to say welcome. We are super excited about today's show. We are bringing forth our first book club meet and greet, and we are super excited about that. And on top of that, to be able to have the author of the book on the show for our first meet and greet and to have intimate conversation with her afterwards. I am super excited. So welcome. Becky, tell them about our mission and vision.
Our mission has never changed. Our mission is to have a platform for women to feel emboldened, empowered, and encouraged. This is a platform that we have designed so women can come here and be their complete self, unapologetically loud, bold, beautiful, and have all the support and encouragement that they need. So thank you so much again for joining us this morning. I'm super excited.
Yes. Super excited, right? And just as Becky said, this is what we hear. We support all women, and specifically women of color, because we want to make sure that there's representation. And of course, what better way to do that than to have you out in front? Because we are women supporting women, right, Beck? Women supporting
Yes,
women.
ma'am.
Right. And like we have on the screen, make sure you love, like, share, follow, and subscribe. So take a second right now, share this video, right? Go ahead and like us, right? Follow and subscribe, right? And we'll have all the details at the end of the show. Becky, let's get to some of these comments. They're already coming in, all right?
Ooh, I'm excited.
So we have Jit Shot saying, "Oh, this is exciting! Yes. All right." And we have a Facebook user saying, "Hello, hey, you that saying Facebook user say hello, right?" So you have to when you have to allow the app to show your name on the screen. Otherwise, I know it's multiple people watching, but we don't know who you are. But thank you so much for joining us. All right. So we got another Facebook user saying, "Hey,
Hey.
hey." Good morning. All right. And just I said, let's get started. Oh, they are ready. All right. Share, y'all. Let's get these numbers up, right? Let's get these numbers up. And then we have Nia 67 saying happy to tune in. Happy to have you, Nia. We have Bridget saying,
Hey,
hey,
Bridget.
Bridget, welcome. I'm going to get to a couple more. Good morning, Queens. Good morning, Nikita. Another person saying hello. We have Miss Star joining us. Miss Star, y'all.
Oh,
Hey, Miss Star. Y'all make sure y'all check her out at Clever Communities. When it comes to books, that lady knows books. Absolutely. So make sure you check her out. And then we have someone else saying good morning. And we are super excited to have all of you here with us. And we're not going to hold much up from us getting right into our book club meet and greet with our author, right? So Becky, you want to introduce our author?
oh my goodness. So our author is none other than Miss Kandace Chimbiri. And she is coming all the way from the UK. She is a novelist. She is a writer. She is currently writing with Scholastic. And she is just a force to be reckoned with. I know you all are going to enjoy her and the positivity that she gives when she's talking about this book particularly, but just literature in general. So we are so super excited to have her.
Absolutely. And she is another thing, Becky. She's a multi-author. Like
Oh,
I mean, she has
absolutely.
multiple books, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
the book that we're showcasing today is one of, a children's book, but
Mhm.
it's so informative, even and I learned so much even as an adult reading her book. So I am super excited. Are y'all
Absolutely.
excited? Keep the comments coming. And on top of that, she's calling in from the UK.
International.
International,
It's
right?
3 o'clock in the
So
afternoon over there.
get ready for that, right? So we're saying good morning, but it's actually good afternoon, almost good evening to her, right? So
Yes.
make sure you keep the comments coming, keep supporting her as we talk to it, and then stay tuned afterwards, because we will have an intimate session with her, where if you're interested in attending that session, we will be dropping that Zoom information for you all so you can ask those questions to her yourself. But before we bring her out, right, Becky has a quick trivia question. And
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Beck.
No, you good.
The trivia question, right? The award for those of you who didn't have the opportunity to get this book, right? Hey, if you answer the trivia question correct, we are going to gift you one of the amazing books from our book club. So make sure you get your fingers ready. Get it ready. Get it ready. All right, Becky, over to you.
All right. So if you have read this book, or if you just got some background knowledge on hair in general, then you should know the answer to this question. So the question is, hair is mostly made up of what protein? Drop that answer below. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. This was at the very beginning of the book, so it shouldn't be hard to find if you got your book with you. Go ahead.
Come on, let's get these.
Let's
get this winners. We know y'all love trivia.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Dion is right.
Yes, Dion, you got it right. All right, so the winner is Dion. We will have another trivia at the end for someone else to read this book and get a copy to someone. Even if you read it and you win it, you can get it and give it to someone else, right? So that's it's a gift that keeps, a great gift that keeps on giving. So absolutely. So congratulations again, Dion. We are going to go into a short commercial break, and after that, we will meet Miss Kandace Chimbiri. And I'm sorry, she might get on me for her name, but we'll meet her right after that.
Good afternoon. Greetings from London.
Absolutely. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's not too late. It's not too early. It's the perfect time of the day.
Okay. It's the perfect. How's the weather over there?
Oh, don't ask. Not very great. No.
I got it. Understood. Thank you so much for being on here with us today. We are super excited to get to know you better and let the viewers get to meet you as the author of this amazing and great book. I'm just super excited. I'm gonna shut up and throw it over to Becky. I'm super excited.
Yes, this book is life-changing. It gives so much history and research on hair. Like you said, 5,000 years of hair care and care information that is very special, and children can understand it. It's very on their level, but it's enough information that even adults are like, oh my goodness, I didn't know that, because you put some facts up in here and I was like, okay. And you gave credit to some people that people may not know about. We know about the big figures that we talk about all the time, but those people in the background, those founders, those starters, those are the people that I was like, oh my goodness, this is very informational. And so it was an awesome read, and my children are enjoying it as well.
Absolutely. All right, so let's jump right into talking to you, right? So tell us about yourself, and like, when did you realize you wanted to be a writer?
So I didn't grow up wanting to be a writer. So a bit about me. I was born in London. I was born to parents from what we call the Windrush generation. So that's the people who came from the Caribbean after the Second World War, around that time, up to about 1970. And my parents came from Barbados, which at that time was a part of the British Empire. and they came from Barbados to Britain. I was born in London, lived in London until I was about 10 or 11, and then they decided to go back to Barbados. And I was there until I was an adult, almost till I was 30. And then I came back to London. So my parents and sisters still live in Barbados. I came back to London. And it was when I started to look around for books for friends' children that then I realized there was a big, big issue. I hadn't really realized it before then, especially growing up in Barbados, But when I came here and I started to look for books, I realized there was a big gap, big issue with lack of diversity in books, even stories. And then when it came to nonfiction and Black history and things about don't even go there, that was even worse. And so that's when I decided to do it. So it wasn't like the typical story of an author, when they always say they wanted to be an author from the time they were 6 and they knew all their life they wanted to write. And that's not my story at all.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's crazy that you say that, right? Because you're author of multiple books, right? So tell us how many books you've written.
I've written 5 books. This is my 5th book. 5 books over 12 years, all very, very different, all about Black history, all outside of enslavement, because that was all I was seeing. And I didn't think it was right that, children of Black children, any children, should be told or believe that their history is slavery, which unfortunately is what many believe, because that's what the books are always about. So I wanted to concentrate on the histories, way outside of that. I wanted to talk about the ancient history and also the modern as well, but 5,000 years of history, which is a lot. That's what I wanted to do, So yeah.
So like, which one of those, like, out of all the books and all the research, because even talking to you in conversation before, I can tell that you're an amazing researcher. Like, you're one that reads and one that develops and searches for truth. Like, out of all the books that you've written, like, what is which one would you say is your favorite?
So that's really hard because all of my books are very different. I probably should have done them in a similar format because then maybe I'll be wealthy by now. I don't know. But I just couldn't do that. I just always feel I want to write something at that particular time. And so the styles of the books are really different. The first one is only like 14 pages. It's just an activity book for the younger children to learn about a very specific thing. The next book is about ancient Egypt, the foundation of the country. Then this one is about the hair. The one I did before was about the Afro comb. I did one about the Windrush, which was my first modern history one. And so they're all so different. So it's a bit like fruit, you like fruit, but you can't really compare apples and bananas. They're just fruit. Depends what you feel like at that time.
I got you. I definitely understand, right? So that said, it sounds like all of them are your favorite, and they all sound like they would be good, very interesting reads for both adults and children. I'm gonna kick it over to Becky I know she has a question as well.
I do. So, how was it when the process of writing this book? Like, can you break down like what exactly you did to get to this final product? Did it start off as, hey, I just want to do something short and then kind of turn into something different? Or what was the process in general?
That's a really difficult question to answer because I feel like I should be able to say, well, I get up every morning at 6, I write for 2 hours, then I do this. The process was so messy. I really wanted to have a routine. I really, sometimes some of the books I've done before, I've had to write them after work. Some I've written when I was off, some I've written quicker. This one, it was just all over the place. I had the idea for this book in 2013. So it's a book I've wanted to write for 8 years. So when I said to the publisher, this is the book I want to do, and they said yes, and then I started it, but it didn't end up quite the book that I expected. I knew I wanted to do a book about the whole history of Afro hair, but then when I started doing further research, I found that it was just taking me in places that I hadn't expected I would have to go. So the whole process was super messy. It was just, I don't even know how I managed to put it all together. But I knew, because I'm writing it, for ages 8 to adult, I
Mhm.
knew that whatever I did, it had to be, it had to kind of follow at least some kind of a structure over
Mhm.
the 5,000 years. So that at least helped me to decide what to put in, what to exclude. But there was a lot that I didn't put in the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you really, so that kind of puts thought into my next question as well, was like, what was the hardest part about writing the book? What part of the book like took you the longest to, accomplish, or, what's the hardest to write? What would you say that was?
So I think that some of the Black British history was really, really challenging because it isn't really well documented. That
Mhm.
was quite difficult. I found the parts of the book that were dealing with the African American history, some parts were easier, but then there were some, like for example, about Annie Malone. As far as I know, and as far as we can see, she didn't leave an autobiography. There didn't seem to have been much written about her as a book at the time. And so you're now relying on sources that sometimes are not really that reliable, and you can't really trace a lot of the information. So it's quite difficult to get to the facts. And what you often find is that people will say, "Oh, I was told this," or "I heard this." You can't really go by that. So I found those things really quite challenging, as well as some of the topics and things that obviously have happened. Obviously some of them are not the easiest things to put in a book, especially that is going to be read by children.
Absolutely. And I agree. And I think a lot of us grow up in that form of being told things that are not true. And that's a part too that I loved about the book and how informative it was, because of the fact that I learned some things that were mistruths about and I can tell from the research part of it, the factual side of it, that I had been told some things even in my own past that what didn't coincide with what the truth was. And then, like Becky said earlier, it went on to making me think, like, in school they taught me this person was the person that created all of this stuff. And then when you really think about it, it's like, no, no. But it made me proud, because I was like, as Black people, we have really rich heritage in Black and African heritage, and we are just sometimes misinformed about that. So I totally love the book. Again, it like really blew my mind. It really taught me more stuff, and it taught it where I could understand it in a simplistic form as well, which it translates for the kids. Hence, says both of my daughter finished reading it, and then my son is on chapter 4. My baby boy is on chapter 4. So thank you so much again for creating a book. Go ahead, Beck.
Yes, I totally agree. This book, I know, like I was thinking about, if are these places still relevant? Are these locations like where they had the different shops throughout in Europe? I know some of those like historic places like we have here in our culture, like the Black American culture, like in the Detroits and all of those things we can kind of trace back. But I was wondering, are those locations of those pioneer hair salons and stuff like that, is it still in the same locations? Are they considered like historic places overseas, or not so much?
Unfortunately, no. Even though it's only happened in the last 70 years, these places. So, for example, when I started the book, I didn't even know about this lady called Carmen England. She had come from Trinidad in 1940s, and there's actually even a video that anyone can see online just by googling it, and it shows her in a salon, and she's probably Britain's first Black hairdresser, the first Black salon. Didn't know about that, never heard about it. As far as I know, there's nothing to commemorate that. Winifred Atwell, who then became a famous singer, she opened the next salon. She opened two, including one up in the West End, which is the posh big part of London. Hardly anyone knows about that either. Her salon was near Vidal Sassoon's salon. People don't even know about
Mhm.
that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's also been gone. And then Dyke, Dryden, and Wade, the three men who
Mhm.
pioneered the industry here, I never saw that in another children's book.
Wow.
So it's really not great. Yeah.
I totally agree, because there were certain things, again, that just going to how things have developed, and even reading, like, how hair was a part of, the hair, the growth, the fashion industry was a part, that because there were, hair salons in Harlem, and how it, propelled the Harlem Renaissance, like, was one of the catalysts to, that big event, that big movement, to learn about something. When you think about the experience of having hair and going through that Afro hair experience, how it builds upon our great and our rich history. So I was definitely super, super, super impressed, right? So what to you was the most important element about your research throughout the book? Like, what was it important for the viewers and those people who read your book? Like, what was the most important thing that they got out of it for you as the author?
So for me, some of the things that you've said, obviously, I wanted people to be able to appreciate that there is a lot more to Black history than what we think. That it's not always just, like what you were saying about the Harlem Renaissance. Yes, it was great about the art and the literature and everything, but what about the economics behind it? What about, the lessons we can learn from it? So I wanted to help people to realize, it's not just about knowing the facts that this person lived, they were born on this date, they did this, this, this. It's also about looking at the context around it. It's looking at maybe even how the history relates to what was going on in wider society, because we're interested in Black history, but it doesn't always happen in a vacuum, right?
Right.
There are other things going on in the world that impact on that, and that we also impacted on. So I think the main thing to take away is that it's broader than what we often are told. And also to take away that this book isn't designed to be a book that you read and then you know everything. It's more to be a book to say, right, oh, I didn't know that. Let's find out more. And what. So a kind of an introduction, a kind of a conversation starter type of book, although it's a thick conversation starter.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I was also thinking, and then I'm gonna pitch it over to Becky really quickly. What you were saying in conversation about, not having as much representation when it comes to Black history and the accuracy of it, even where you reside. Most of our viewers are right here in America, right? And you pretty much raised in London, and would you say that the experience is any different when it comes to, the Black per se struggle, or the Black accuracy of our the Black what's the word I'm trying to look for?
Experience.
Experience,
Yeah.
yes. How is that going for you, in your own words, in London?
So I think that's a really good question. I think, and I'm glad that you've asked that, because I think as well, from when I wrote the book, one of the things that I think is that there are a lot of experiences that are common to people of African descent. Absolutely. And through the hair, you can kind of see that, in the book and even now. But there also are differences as well. There are differences between things that might happen in a majority Black country. So,
Mhm.
for example, in the Caribbean, compared to a country where Black people are a minority, like the
Mhm.
US and the UK.
Mhm.
And then even in between that, there are going to be still differences as well. So I think this is something that we need to also talk about a lot more, but also recognize that there are also a lot of common experiences as well. So I would say in the UK, yes, there's similarities, but there are also differences. And for a long time in the UK, people have been taught African American history and been told that's, history, that's Black history. We are interested in that history, obviously, and it all interconnects. But we also have Black British history, and there's also Black Caribbean history, and
Mhm.
there's also African history. And it's interesting, even with the Harlem Renaissance, about a quarter of the people that had the salons were from other places outside of America.
Mhm.
It happened in America, it's African American history. Most of the salon owners were American, but many of them also came from other parts of the world too. So,
Right.
and so it's things like that that we should really look at a lot more historically, and then it helps us also to understand where we're at today.
Absolutely. And just thinking about the book and how rich it was in our ancestral history, where we're all evolving from, coming from Africa, going to Caribbeans, being put, coming to the America. It's just, I'm proud. That's all I can say is I'm proud of Black and African descendants. I'm just so honored to be in such a rich background and a rich heritage. It really makes me speechless. And again, this book has really brought me to a whole nother realm of understanding, and it's encouraged me to be more of a researcher and not just do what people tell me or hearsay, to say fact check that, just so we can continue to give credit, because there's so much education that we have, so much rich history. Go ahead, Beck.
Yes, so we talked about, I mean, that, like, I really agree with what Tana is saying. And I think that with separation, and with the lack of knowledge, it can breed the ignorance piece. And so I wonder if this systemic for them to only tell you the slavery part of African history and not put it all together so that you can get the full scope of who we are as a people of African descent. So if I just tell you a little bit about over here, a little bit about over there, then I can keep you ignorant, for lack of a better term. So the research is very, very important. But I want to ask, now that you have taken us through this historic journey of the Afro hair, what is your hair preference and why?
Oh, so that's a good question. So my hair preference personally, I absolutely do love natural hair personally. The style that I'm wearing now is how I love to wear my hair. I've worn it like this for quite a long time. But throughout my life, I've had all different styles. I've had my hair pressed, I've had it relaxed, I've worn it in braids. I've had so many different styles personally. And I think that's one of the beauties of, this type of hair, of Afro textured hair, that it is very versatile and you do have a choice of how you want to wear it. So I am a little bit biased to this type of a style, but in the book I tried to be objective and give context to why people wore certain styles at certain times. I didn't want it to be a book about promoting any particular lifestyle or hairstyle choice. I just want it to be really factual of what happened at each stage.
And that was definitely given throughout the thing. You broke it down about the bouffants and then the relaxers and the like the waves. So you really gave the factual context to every single hairstyle moving throughout the time. So it was very, very relatable. And we always talk about how throughout the book, everybody would go back, eventually work their way back to the natural state, the afro, the braids. They would always go back to reference a previous style that was worn. So that was very, very interesting as well.
But I do have to say one thing. There is one style that I wore that I do regret, and that's the Jerry curl.
Oh,
Yeah, and that was also a surprise when I read the book about the history of it, and I was like, "Oh, that's why I was wearing that style." But I did. Yeah, I didn't even like it at the time, but it wasn't so much like now where you have more. I mean, I wouldn't say you have complete freedom, and especially we know we don't always have complete freedom with this type of hair. We're not always allowed that, but we are working towards people being able to make more choices about their hairstyle. But historically, you just sort of wore the style that everyone was wearing because everyone said that was fashionable. So even like in the 80s, you just wore what everyone said was the fashionable style, whether it suited you or you didn't like it or not, you just did it. Uh-huh.
That's something too, like, I can appreciate about the book, because it goes into that, like, people do think as a fashionable trend, you know what I mean? But then when you read about the history of, dreadlocks, before we drop the dread and then we go to the locks and then the designer locks, those types of things, you see where people did things to make a statement. And you talk about how people wear their hair for statuses, meaning basically if your hair was up and you had this huge beehive, it showed your status. It showed what you stood for as well. And so that part I can definitely appreciate in my own hair journey of not going by what the status norm it is what makes me comfortable, what makes my family comfortable, and also not aligning with a lot of what it used to be for us, where we would crave the European standard, and then eventually over time getting back to actually loving what our hair is, what it looks like. And I've learned, I'm going to keep saying this all day, I've learned so much from this book. It's completely incredible. I'm going to get to a couple comments, right? Let's pull some of this. We have someone say, I love how you decided to change the narrative and speak on the truth instead of just hearsay. We have someone saying very interesting. We have Ebony. Hi, Ebony. I have to jump off, but what a great conversation. Now I need to go get these books. All right. So she's headed to get that book. All right. We have someone else saying it's done to keep us from knowing the truth. Someone else is saying we all have common differences, and we have someone say I thoroughly enjoyed the book. So much history and encouragement. I'm so proud to be me with my natural, beautiful hair. So, Miss Miss Kandace, you are encouraging people. Your book, people are reading your book, and you are definitely reaching the masses. When it comes to your book, and I'm just going to pull up a couple more. We got someone laughing in the comments saying yes. Um, and then Miss Juanita is saying that's me. Thank you so much for joining us, Miss Juanita. She says, I have to get the book. Awesome. Make sure all you viewers that are watching that you guys go and you definitely pick up this book. It's a really great and an amazing book. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here so you can see it. Becky, you want to tell them how they can go about purchasing this book?
So you can purchase the book on Amazon. Amazon has it for people who are in the U.S. or overseas. They have the Kindle e-version and as well as the hard copy. And then for other people that may be tuning in from overseas, or people that may not have like the Amazon access, you can go to the bookdispository.com, type in the name of the book as shown on the screen below, and you can order it via the Book Depository.
Absolutely. Do you want to add anything to that, Miss Kandace?
No, I just I know some people in Barbados have ordered it from the Book Depository, and they said it came quite quickly, and they also do free worldwide delivery. So that's also a good option.
Absolutely. And it's less than $15. So depending if you get the hard copy, which I'm a hard copy book, you gotta get the hard copy. I won't read it electronic. I get the hard copy, and electronic is a little bit cheaper, but absolutely it is a great read, and you guys need to go invest and get this book. Go get the book. All right, Miss Kandace, let's talk a little bit about the illustration piece. All right, let's talk about this author, the illustrator of the book. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this was actually a little bit of a different experience for me, because in the past, the first books that I did, I self-published. I wasn't published by a publishing house. I just decided there's a lack of diversity. I'm going to do these books. So I used to actually work with the illustrators myself. So now that I'm being conventionally published, because I decided that I couldn't handle doing all the self-publishing, the invoicing, the trying to distribute the books and everything from my bedroom. So I signed a book deal with Scholastic, and this is the second book in that 5-book deal. So they actually are the ones who found the illustrator. And the publishing industry is very traditional, and there are a lot of things that they do in a very different way. So one of the things they do is they don't actually introduce you to the illustrator. They do all of that. They show you some of the work and they say, do you like the illustrator? And I did. And then they sort of go away and they do everything, and then they show you the proof. So I was actually a little bit worried, because it was the first time that I hadn't chosen an illustrator. It was the first time that I wasn't completely in control. But obviously it was really good, and I'm delighted with the work that she's done. So she's based here in the UK. Um, yeah, and she's I think it's great what she's done with it.
Yes, I really enjoyed the book with the illustrations because it definitely, you know how like most books don't typically have, adult books to have, illustration for you to read, but it definitely brought the imaginative piece to me to help me translate what I was reading better. So I love kudos to the illustrator. I love the pics. Go ahead, Beck. I think you're muted, sis.
Sorry, the illustrations were beautiful, and I also like that it had actual photographs of the people that you were talking about, so they can see what that person looked like historically. Because if it wasn't like one of the popular personnel or the popular, people in history that they talk about, it gave shine and showed us a light of the other people who were influential, and then what they actually look like, so you can put a face to the actual name. So I think that was awesome as well.
That was really important to me, though, because I did say to the publishers, I do want to put photographs as well, because what I had found over the years when I had done my other children's books was that children, they love illustrations as well, but I actually find sometimes it's the adults who like the illustrations more. Maybe children are just so used to them, but I found that children really appreciate the photographs
Mhm.
because then they know that's what it really looked like. So I felt it's really important to have photographs as well because I know children really appreciate those. Adults too, but I know because so many children had told me.
Yes, and that's what I definitely agree, because I was like, it's giving the kids an opportunity to see people who look like them.
Yeah.
And so you can't, fake it. When it's somebody that looks like you, it's like, okay, I can do that. It encourages them to say, hey, I can do the same thing. So it helps them to identify the greatness that's within them. So I really appreciated having the photographs, and also the pictures of the actual artifacts were super nice and super detailed. How way you put the historical artifacts in, and so we can look back and see, like during the Egyptian times, how the hair progressed and how they wore braids. That was intriguing as well.
And they wore locks, not
Yes,
dreadlocks. They wore locks. Dreadlocks are later, but they also wore locks as well.
absolutely, absolutely.
Oh man, I'm really I am excited. I hope you viewers out there are just as excited as we are. We and Becky are going to end up being quiet when we go into our next session with her, which is going to be a Zoom conversation, which we're going to post within the Facebook group, the Say It Says Facebook group. So, ladies, this is a special exclusive piece for you. If you're inside the Say It Sis Inc. group, that's where we're dropping that information to. So you need to be inside the group in order to get the login, because the book club is something that we do exclusive to the group, even though we want the information to get out to the masses. This is why it's broadcast outside of that. And we do have guys watching. I do know that. So so we will definitely be doing that. So one last question before we go into our next Zoom session. So what advice would you give or share to encourage, a young, inspiring writer or author?
I would say be persistent, don't give up. It's going to be very, very difficult and challenging, especially if you're doing something that is maybe a bit unusual or hasn't been done before. But be persistent, don't give up. And also, don't think you're doing everything alone. No one writes a book. Well, some people try to do everything on their own, and then it kind of shows. But you can reach out to people. People will share information. People will help you, when they know what you're trying to do. So, yeah, be persistent. Don't try to do everything and reach out and get help and support.
Great. That's awesome and phenomenal. Telling them to encourage them to keep at it, right? Because some people, a little bit of, adversity, sometimes will tend to go in the opposite direction. So thank you so much for being so encouraging, I am completely inspired by you. I am humbled that you accepted our invitation, that you have been so prompt and on time to come to all the meetings we scheduled before this. And so I am so happy and so excited that you're here. But before we let you go, let's get and go into our next session. Let's get to a couple more of these comments. And before we close out this part, we have Tiffany saying, I have two, one for me, one for my wife, and I absolutely love it. So thank you so much for the support, Tiffany. We have another person says, I'm not natural, but I love making statements with my hair. Absolutely. And this book is a great read, so you can see how people made all those statements with their hair, whether relaxed or not. Teresa says, thanks for the knowledge. Love learning about hair. What are some good hair products? Wow. I think that question is an individual thing, but I'll let you go first, Kandace, to see if what would you say? What would be your thoughts?
Well, I must admit, I'm not actually a hair care expert. The book is more about the history of fashionable hairstyles. But I would say, from obviously reading about the hair, I learned a little bit. Avoid alcohol, absolutely, to drying for the hair. You know, our hair type, you want products that are going to be moisturizing, giving slippage. And I would say, it obviously depends on what style, you want. And for me, I think I really have a bias towards trying to support Black businesses as well. So that's really important to me. And I think in our decisions that we make, we should always consider as well where we're spending our money and who we're spending the money with too.
All
I know
right.
that's not exactly.
But yep, you did it. I would definitely say it's important to just, try things out with your hair. Teresa, that's what I'm doing. And of course, your local stylist will be able to help you with some of those things as well. But I definitely agree, Kandace. I always try my best to ensure that I look into Black owned businesses when I'm purchasing and I'm going forth in, supporting when it comes to products. All right, so we got Deanna saying a great investment. We have someone else saying I purchased a book from my classroom library. Wow. I would really, who are you? Tell us, who are you? I can't see your name. Um that was the comment from me. All right. All right. And I have my husband out there saying, I'm watching. Thanks, honey. Great advice from Bridget. Nikita says amazing advice. Um Miss Juanita said, really enjoyable, very informative. We have someone else saying, I'm excited. And then we have a last comment saying, so glad I joined, learned so much. I'm definitely getting the book. Thank you for this session. So we're super, super excited that all the viewers have tuned in. Kandace, thank you so much for sharing your book with us and the world right now, so that they can see it. And again, we're going to have a more intimate Zoom session right after this. We're roughly at 10:46, so we're going to start that at 11 o'clock, which is in roughly 15 minutes, where you'll be able to come in into the book club. Me and Becky won't be talking. You get to ask all those questions that you want and tell her yourself how much you enjoyed the book. We'll post that within the Facebook group for you all to join. Kandace, do you have anything else that you want to say before we log off?
Oh, I'd just like to say thank you so much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed talking with you, and I'm looking forward to talking a bit more. Yeah, and thank you very much. And thank you for your lovely, really kind comments about the book, for reading it. And I'm so glad that you enjoyed it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We absolutely appreciate you, and just hang tight with us in the virtual studio. So don't go anywhere, and then we'll transition right to next. So again, viewers, give her some hearts. Give us some, some love, some comments, some shares. Make sure you do that, and we'll see you here in a short minute. Okay, Kandace?
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, viewers, thank y'all so much for tuning in and being here with us. We appreciate y'all, all the love that you always give us here on the platform and show. But right before you go, right, me and Becky have to tell you about our next show coming up here on Monday.
Yes, we do. This show on Monday is the final finale of our Black History Month celebration. We will be celebrating and speaking of the life of Miss Henrietta Lacks. We have a special guest, Jamir Starks, our family, our son, our Howard University student, Clever Communities in Action representative. He will be coming in to provide us with a lot of information. And if anybody knows Jamir or have heard him speak, you already know you're in for a treat. He is going to bring out the life, the importance of Miss Henrietta Lacks and what she did for modern medical history that some people still don't know about. So this is going to be an awesome show. It'll be broadcast live on our Facebook page, live and also live on YouTube. So we cannot wait for our Monday show celebrating the life of Miss Henrietta Lacks.
Absolutely. So we're excited about that. So as we close out, again, thank you so much. Remember to love, like, share, follow, and subscribe to everything Say It Sis, so we can keep the energy going. We can keep representing. We can keep supporting women. All right. And everybody can support women. So it don't matter if you're a guy, girl, and we support all women, right? And like we said, specifically women of color, but we are here for it. And we are excited that you guys are in the comments. So without further ado, as we end any chat or conversation, Beck, what do we tell them?
We tell them to be beautiful, be loved, and to be heard. Say it, sis.
Say it, sis. We'll see you guys in the Zoom meeting. Make sure you log into the Facebook group so you can get that information. We'll see you in a minute.
See ya.